On this week's episode of Generation Tech, we're going to be talking about home automation, where we are with it presently and where we are going with it in the future, and what our hopes and dreams are of home automation. So stay tuned.
Generation Tech, the weekly videocast for your inner geek, bringing you the hottest tech news from around the world. Brace yourselves, the show's about to start. It's Generation Tech. Here's your hosts, Rich Nieto and Matthew Burrows.
And again, welcome. It's episode 32 of Generation Tech. It is the 29th of January, and I'm joined by, as usual, Matthew Burrows. What's going on, dude?
Nothing much. Been a pretty busy week. We're kind of getting back on schedule with researching topics at a decent time, I guess. Not really, but still. But I think we kind of touched on this in the past on the show, but we've never really gone in depth about home and life automation. So it should be a really fun show.
Yeah, so just to go off topic for seconds, we had a bunch of snow hit our region.
Yeah.
I had a day off. You had a couple of days off.
I had two, and we're probably going to get another one tomorrow.
Yeah, so that was enjoyable. A snow day, can't complain.
Yeah.
It's always fun.
Should be good time if I have a snow day tomorrow because it's Friday. So
yeah, I feel like I'm okay with like one big snowstorm every season, but after that it just gets a little much.
yeah. Well, you're not in school anymore.
Well, yeah, also that, but either way. So, where do you want to start off with home automation? I mean, there's so much to go over because it's such a big topic.
Well, I guess we can kind of talk about how it's becoming more and more prevalent in our day-to-day tasks, and we're not really noticing it right now. But even with wearables, you kind of see the thing of automation where it's doing the work for you. All you have to do is look down at your wrist, and pretty much does everything for you. With the iWatch coming out in a couple months, I think we'll probably see that integrate into some other applications maybe down the road, which could be like what we're talking about today, which is house automation and life automation. So I don't know. I think we could definitely see wearables turn into more of a general thing of just overall.
Yeah, you know what? Home automation really expands beyond just general technology. What you think about like computers and stuff like that, wearables
Yeah.
even. It expands to everything, everyday home appliances even. Whether it's a dishwasher, a laundry washer, even your home thermostat. It can even control that. So we're talking. It's such a broad spectrum of devices in your home that can control things. Basically, the way I think about home automation, it's bringing an analog world into a digital world. It's because it's hard to explain, but like we talked about last week with the HoloLens, right? That's really about taking an analog world. You see things, it's all analog. The world is analog.
You have to physically do something.
Right. And it's making it all digital. It's like trying to make a landscape, a digital landscape out of it. And that's basically what we're trying to do. It's like with your kitchen, everything, when you cook, you just set everything manually. It's all manual labor. But with the home automation, it's really trying to make things digital, trying to really standardize everything. So that's what this thing is all about. It's making everything a digital world. So that's my little spiel about that. But today, what kind of products are we seeing today? I mean, obviously the Nest is one big product. That's like the biggest thing so far.
That's kind of like the most utilitarian thing that we have right now with the home thermostat and like kind of more of the safety stuff, fire alarms and stuff like that. That's all cool and everything. But you own the Hue. What was that? That was a phone. You own the Hue, and so you can kind of. Wow.
Never mind. Go ahead. Yeah,
you good?
Go ahead. I'm good.
You own the Hue, and so you kind of know a bit of a taste of. It's not. I wouldn't say fully home automation, but it's kind of maybe a feature that you might see in home automation, which is really easily controlling like different things around your room. And you also own the Harmony product lineup, and we own that upstairs as well, but not like as much as you do. But still, those are kind of just tastes of different things that fully home automated things can perform, I guess. But these are all separate devices, which I guess we're kind of hoping to get that all bundled into one.
Yeah, we talk about that later. What we're hoping for in the future, what home automation should and hopefully can become. But back to the what you mentioned before was the Hue and the Harmony. Those are really the first steps towards home automation. I mean, the lights, that's like the first step. I mean, that's the natural progression. It's a pretty simple technology. And a lot of this stuff with home automation, you're going to want to control with your phone. Your phone is going to be like your life remote, basically. And, that's why I also got the Harmony Ultimate for my living room, is because I can actually control it with an app on your phone or iPad. And as much as the controller is awesome, I just think the controllability with a phone, because everyone has a phone. You always have it with you. Let's say you're just sitting on the couch, you're just browsing on your iPad, you just want to turn on the TV, you could do it right from there. You don't have to get up and actually get the remote control. Yeah. Or if you're across the house and you want to shut everything off because you forgot to turn it off, you could likewise, just with your phone that's always on you, just turn it off and away you go. So that's what I like about all this stuff going forward, is having your phone be the center of your automated life.
Yeah, for sure. And another item that I kind of came across today researching for the show was this new product on Kickstarter. It's called Hive, and it's kind of mixing in the Nest features, but it also mixes in entertainment, which is really cool. There's all kinds of different things that you can do with it. You can control the Hue style lights, you can control locks, all electronics, appliances, anything that can connect to your Wi-Fi, you can control. And it also has a high fidelity sound system built in that you can attach and kind of daisy chain throughout your house, so you can have entertainment running through the entire house, which would be awesome for like a party, and you could play music, and every single room you can have its own hive, and it's kind of cool how they call it a hive. It's like a beehive, it kind of grows on the ceiling, and it has a lot of stuff that it could do.
Yeah, what's funny, when I first saw that, it actually reminds me of a smarter Amazon Echo.
Yeah.
Where, the Echo is a little tube-like device. You sit around in one of your rooms, and you can actually talk to it, and you could ask it questions, or you could have it do things in your cloud. But this
one's the whole house.
Yes, the Hive can control things. It takes it to the next level. But that's what I thought about it when I first saw it. It's just like, it looks like a speaker that sits in your kitchen or wherever the hell you want it in the house.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a lot more functionality with this Hive. And I like that it works with different products. Like, it doesn't have to be standardized with a certain product or certain line. Like the Hue, it works with just the Hue lineup,
It's not proprietary at all.
Right.
Like, you can use the new Whirlpool wireless dishwasher when that comes out, and you can just buy this now, It's really cool.
Yeah, so that's what I think needs to be a centerpiece with these devices going forward, especially if it's the center hub of your home automation stuff. It really needs to be versatile and universal. It can't just be working with one lineup and you're stuck in this weird mix mosh of stuff. But again, we'll talk about the ecosystem later. But like you said before, there's so many Kickstarters that are really starting up in this home automation field. It's like, it really does seem to be the next wave of technology. Like we talked about last week, the HoloLens, that's a different type of technology. This one is really aims to help and really even save you money and stuff like that,
Yeah, if you actually, I don't know if you can do this right now. If you go to Kickstarter and just search into the top bar, home automation, there's a couple different ones, and there's actually one that almost has $1 million in funding, and it's a thinking remote. So we're definitely seeing a lot of these products come from smaller minds and smaller companies, and I think those are the type of people that'll actually have the best ideas, because they're like us, and they had an idea and they want to make it prevalent in the industry. So
yeah, that's really cool. Like, it's, you're not just seeing these big companies like Google or Apple do these. It's little companies, that's awesome. We haven't seen anything from Apple on this, but you have to know down the road they have something planned, because I mean, with their ecosystem of Apple products that all work together, you got to imagine they're thinking about controlling the house.
Well, it's funny, the Neo remote that I was just talking about, it's actually from Cupertino, California.
Oh.
And their products are all placed next to Apple items. So that's kind of curious. It's kind of funny.
Yeah. Well, I wonder if Apple will be making a little acquisition sometime soon.
It might be. I mean, dude, they've raised $1,900,000 in the 60 days.
Wow. 60 days. Wow.
That's a lot of money.
That is. So, do you want to go into some of the pros and cons of home automation? Because it seems like it's such a good thing, but there are some cons behind it. But if you want to go ahead and maybe touch on a couple of the pros.
Yeah, so Rich listed out a couple of pros, and all of them, they're really well planned out. So one of the pros that you put down is set it and forget it. And that's really just overall convenience of the product. And that's huge with really any sort of, I guess, modern device, is that you have the ability to do things, for it to do things while you're not there, which it can be a pro and a con. But I think you had a pretty good scenario with like a dryer or something.
Yeah, we'll talk about that later in our finishing comments. But yeah. Obviously the convenience factor. That's the number one number one pro about the home automation is just
overall.
You don't have to think about it. You know, a lot of these things you can set it to how you might want it, and it'll just work. You know, like your thermostat. When you're out of the house, you set it to be a certain temperature, and when you arrive, it learns when you arrive when you're out of the house, and it knows what temperature you want. So it's one of those things.
And that's perfect for you because you're always saying I'm cold or too hot. So it's like, all right, Rich likes it this temperature now. Then when the sun goes down, he likes this temperature.
And I'm sure if your heating system and cooling system permits for this type of thing, you could probably have different rooms, different temperatures, stuff like that. So.
Oh yeah, with like electric heating systems, you can do that.
Yeah,
I'm sure it's not that bad of an install. You could probably just change out the little dial.
Yeah,
which I think that's what you do with Nest, right?
Yeah. So the next pro is infinite possibilities. I mean, when you think about the Philips Hue lights to begin with, right?
Yeah.
It's more than just being able to control your lights with your phone. You can change the colors, you can change the intensity, you can change sceneries. Each bulb can be a different color, and it goes for a general theme. But also, if you integrate other apps and a service called If This Then That, it's a website, you can have it so like if something happens, you can have the lights turn off, turn on, blink, turn a certain color.
So it's like you could self-program algorithms.
Yes. So basically, like I saw some of them is if like your favorite team scores, right? Mm-hmm. You could have them flashing, you could have them turn a certain color. But for me, I have very simple. I have it geofenced so that whenever I arrive home and it's after sunset, the lights in my office automatically turn on, and one of the lights in the living room turns on so I can actually see when I get in. And also when I leave the premises, all the lights turn off. So that's an obvious, really convenient feature. But also, when you think about infinite possibilities, you just think about every single device. Like if they could actually talk to each other, what the possibilities are endless. I mean, can you just imagine if the lights talked with like your TV so that you know when you're watching a movie it turns to, well, actually you can do this currently.
You could do that with the If This and That.
Yeah. So if you're watching, like even with the Philips, with the Logitech Harmony remote, if you set it to watch a movie, the lights can dim to a certain color so it's less distracting and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think we'll talk. I had a little bit of something to say later on once we get to stuff that we want to see in the future, which is pretty cool. So yeah, the next pro that you wrote down, and we both agreed, more free time for other tasks. This is kind of an obvious one, you know. Obviously, as you just said, with the lights, you don't have to take the time to turn off every light. You can just walk out of the house, turns it off for you, and when you get home, lights are on. So you're not really worrying about safety. I'm sure Kelly doesn't like to just walk into the house when it's dark. You know, that's kind of a women thing. No offense, but I don't know. I think my mom always leaves like one light on in the living room, and I don't know. I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah,
and maybe like if you have a late night out, you can leave a light on so it looks like someone's home.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of people do that. And the next thing is obviously energy efficiency. Mm-hmm. The Nest is a perfect example because it lowers your heating and cooling bills. But just think about your fridge and stuff like that. If it knows what kind of food it's cooling, it could go to a certain temperature and stuff like that. And
it knows when the best time is. So when you're not opening the fridge as much, it doesn't need to cool it as much. And then when it's prime time, dinner time, you know, it's going to start pumping out the the juice.
Oh, especially anything that works on water, like your laundry stuff or your dishwasher. It'll wash your stuff when it's the most cost efficient time of the day to use water. So
yeah,
because a lot of areas, if you use it like in the middle of the day, it costs more apparently.
So that's like California, especially.
Yeah.
With their like droughts and stuff, they can't like wash their cars, or they're limited to a certain amount of water.
Exactly.
And the last part that we have is enhanced home security. That's really a big selling feature for a lot of these home automation systems, from Nest to the Hive. That's really a big seller, is home security. And with Nest, they have a huge amount of products with cameras and everything like that, which, I mean, that can be a con for some people, for people who don't like to have a lot of cameras around the house. But for others, it makes have much more of a peace of mind, especially if you're away from the house for a while.
I mean, I when I went on my vacations, usually I go away for like a week or 2 weeks. I set up my cameras on my computers, placed around the house, just so I can use LogMeIn and actually Skype myself, so I can look at the cameras. It's a really primitive way to have a security system, but I mean that's the type of thing where it'll be much easier to do in the future. Where you could it'll automatically record if it's sensing someone walking in the house, stuff like that.
Well, you can have a lot of things with the cats, but
yeah,
who knows? Maybe that'll be a thing that you can program in, so it's like it has to be a certain size on the screen or something. I don't know.
Yeah, but there are so many enhanced security features with stuff like this that but the negative is, since it can control. We're going to go into the cons now, because since it can control your security, if someone ever hacks into it, or your internet goes down, or your power goes down, you're left really vulnerable.
That's the thing.
That's the thing. You're so reliant on this technology that it can turn against you, and
we're relying on it now. We're living on the grid. We'd pretty much be screwed if tomorrow the internet went down.
Yeah, I mean, just think. Let's say someone hacked into your Philips Hue account and started controlling your lights. I mean, it's a little prank joke, but that's just an example of, let's say it's your actual home security system, and someone taps into your internet and controls everything, or it spies on you with your own cameras, and they know when you're home and when you're not home. So that's one thing they have to get right for this to really succeed.
Yeah, it definitely has to be a no BS security system. Very, very strict. But nowadays it's really hard to do that. I mean, Sony's getting hacked left and right, and they have one of the world-class security systems. So if anyone wants to get into your security system nowadays, they can. But I guess that's just, I don't think they would.
Yeah, but I mean, with between burglary and then also internet hacking, I mean, it's a combination of both if you have home automation involved.
Oh yeah, especially with the locks, if they have automated locks.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of, like, in the future, you're going to have NFC enabled locks on your door, so you just tap your phone on your lock and it unlocks it. So who's to say someone can't, like, rub up against you and copy that NFC, similar to how they do with credit cards,
Yeah, I mean, colleges have this NFC door technology already, but obviously it's a college. It's not a house that can hold different things. But so another con, which could also be a pro, it's really dependent. Moving away from the simplistic life, you're kind of depending on a lot of other things to work for you. So you're not really doing it as much manually.
Exactly. Like, people can learn the art of washing clothes. I mean, a lot of people don't know. Surprisingly, some people don't know how to wash clothes. You'd be surprised.
How do you use the washer?
I mean, maybe they're making an excuse to not do the work. But either way, there are skills involved with these things, and some people even make a living out of, like maids. I mean, it's such a small job, but, people like that might be putting them out of work, with automation stuff like that. But, just generally, like, tell your kid to wash the dishes, as a punishment or as an incentive to watch, to play video games and stuff like that. In the future, who knows? They might not even have to do much work. So
yeah, that's the thing, though. I mean, it's always been kind of an inevitable dream for mankind, is to have automation. So
yeah, even in the Jetsons.
The Jetsons, that was taking place last year, 2014. That's what the year was.
Oh, well, we're a little behind then. So
yeah, but we're working on it. Another thing, I guess, this is kind of a thing with all technology, is the chance of obsolescence. I guess becoming obsolete. I don't know what that word is that we wrote down.
Obsolescence. So basically, just like the same thing with your phone, you know, you upgrade every year, and all the other tech devices. It's inevitable where that home automation will become obsolete and outdated, and you're gonna want to upgrade it. That's obviously a cost involved, and who knows if this home automation stuff may be planned into the modeling of your home. It might not be easy to just replace. You know, it's actually wired into your entire house. You got to redo the whole thing, so it could become a costly thing depending on how in depth this installation becomes. You know.
Yeah. Well, I don't think it will become too like right now we're kind of sticking to the actual physical things, like kind of just nailed on the roof, I guess, or kind of like taped onto the roof. And it's not really as permanent as you would think. Because the Nest one also, or not the Nest, but the Hive has it so they plug into just a plug on the wall. So that's easy to uninstall. But I think once we get to the point where it's actually being like permanently installed in this house, they have to future-proof it some way, you know?
Well, it's just like, you know, a lot of houses back, even now, some houses are built with Ethernet wired throughout the house, you know? It's similar to that, you know, like the same idea where I'm sure in the future houses will be built with home automation in mind. They'll have like a certain brand maybe throughout the house, stuff like that. So it's just something to think about. You know, you have to upgrade it over time. Maybe it might not be every year, but maybe every 5-10 years.
Yeah, and that's kind of touching on our last con is there's different standards between each company. So you might not get all the features that you want. So you might want to change companies or anything like that, and it'll be a lot harder to do if it's locked in.
Yeah, and like the Hive we said was compatible with a lot of different brands and companies. Not necessarily the case with some of these other ones we've been seeing out there. You know, it's they have their own set of products, and some of them don't include like stuff for the windows to show when it's open and closed. Some do, but some are missing other features. So you have to choose the right set and brand and product that's right for yours, but you might be missing out on stuff. So you know, I think for this to really succeed, like I said, it has to be working with all these different there has to be a standard, basically.
There has to be a set amount of features, and it kind of has to, like, they kind of have to make an agreement. It's like, all right, we can't make anything too drastic that we can't improve upon via like software update or anything like that. They kind of have to plan ahead physically for features that they might not have right away.
Exactly. So, with that being said, let's make our closing arguments. So, what do you hope to see of this technology in the future? You know, like what do you think are the possibilities, and what would you like to see?
Well, I'm hoping to get something that will kind of adapt to who you are as a person and like your daily lifestyle habits. Like having an AI system that prepares things for your daily patterns, and it might take maybe you have like a week break in. And you kind of have to stay similar to what you would do every day. And maybe it just senses, all right, I have to have this light on here because they're going into the bathroom in 10 minutes to take a shower or something. Then I'll have the coffee maker ready. And maybe it just controls all that stuff, so you don't really have to do anything. And I think another thing that was kind of cool, so you were talking about how you had a geofence.
Right.
And what if they had like even smaller scale geofencing, but inside the floor plan of your house, so that if you step into a room, and maybe you have different settings, if you step into a room, it senses that you're there, it automatically turns the lights on. Because I know that's kind of hard to do right now, because obviously we're going to have a lot of interference. You're going to not have as much kind of pinpoint accuracy. But I think that could definitely be a thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel I was thinking about that the other day. Like, I wish I could actually set the geofencing, and when I come in the room, it turns on the lights. Whereas it's generally when I go into my driveway, it'll turn on all the lights and stuff like that. So yeah, I completely agree. I wish geofencing was a little bit more specific, like within maybe 5-10 feet. You know. Yeah.
So. And like, you can always get the old-fashioned motion sensors, but those always go off after a while. I'm like, that'd be cool if your door had sensors when people enter and leave the room. Maybe like a Connect type thing. You know how it auto signs you in on the Xbox One? Maybe if it senses the person who went into the room first and when they leave the room last. So it's like not interfering when someone leaves and enters the room as well.
Yeah, some kind of facial recognition maybe.
That'd be really cool.
You know, yeah, absolutely. So for me, the way I view home automation of the future is I want to see an ecosystem. You know, like how Apple has their ecosystem where everything just works with one another. It's very seamless. But I'm viewing this on a grander scale, obviously in your entire house and entire life, you know, where everything just works with one another. Like, for an example, let's say you want to go watch a movie and you have to get laundry done, right? Your washer knows that you're watching a movie and it's going to be over in, let's say, an hour and 45 minutes, right?
Yep.
It knows it has that amount of time to get the laundry done or whatever, dry it, and it'll get it done within that amount of time. Now, it's a vague example, but that's the type of possibilities I'm looking for, you know. Or you have a party at 6 o'clock and you have to get some dishes done beforehand, and you know your washer knows based on your calendar on your phone that you have a party going on. You need those dishes done, so it gets it done promptly. So, you know, it's that type of stuff where, like I was talking about before, the infinite possibilities. Just if everything's able to talk to one another and communicate, and it knows your schedule, it knows your preferences, and it just knows all these outside information like cost of using water in a certain time of the day. Like all that information bundles everything together, and all these different products working with one another. I just think that that's the way of home automation in the future. You know?
Yeah, it definitely needs to be a seamless experience, and it almost needs to feel natural, even though it's completely unnatural. I think that's one of the biggest. It's going to be one of the biggest selling features, that it has to feel natural. You have to be able to get used to it over time, you know. And I think that's another thing we both kind of touched on it. It's an ecosystem in itself, and then it also has to involve the human or the controller as well. You know, have their input.
Yep. And you know, a lot of this stuff could even not have any human intervention. You know, like I said before with that example, you just have things working all around you. You know, you don't have to think about it. It does things. It knows things that have to get done, and it does it. You know, like that Roomba, that automated vacuum.
The total man cave vacuum.
Like, let's say, you know, it just knows. Like, it senses the dust level in your house, and it knows it needs to get vacuumed, and it just does it by itself, you know, with all these sensors and stuff. So I really think that will be the way things go in the future. It's not going to be overnight next year. It's going to take probably 10 years maybe to get to that point, but
if longer. I mean,
probably. But you know, the way things are progressing, you never know. And I think wearables is a good start with home automation, because you can control that. You know, it's like a personal controller, just like your phone, you know, but a little bit more simpler, where you can actually get things, you know, right from your wrist. So I think down the road, wearables will be even more of an important role in this home automation stuff. So that being said, anything else you want to add? You want to finish off with?
I think Jacob Rush actually just posted a thing in the chat that Apple's doing something right now. I've never actually heard of this, but I haven't really researched it.
We'll take a look at it after the show. HomeKit, it's called. So
go check it out.
To be for developers. So that seems interesting. Like I said, it would really shock me if Apple doesn't come out with something in home automation.
I think they just need to come out with a TV first.
Oh yeah, I mean, that would be a big start, because then it'll work with everything, you know. So they'll control
TV's
your
the hub
room.
for many houses.
It really is. So that being said, thanks a lot for joining us. If you watched us live, all our people down in the chat, appreciate you guys. Shout outs to Jacob, Hunter, and GC Tech, and anyone else I might have missed early on. But again, thanks a lot for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.
Peace.
Boosh.